Thank you. And then I would actually turn in the meeting myself to the gal downstairs in the clerk's office, and I would do up the agenda. And then when I got that back, I would send it to all of you. And so I'm not used to not having this in my hands, or I should say my control. And
I'll make a note that going forward, meetings should start at 3 o'clock, Angie.
yeah. And with Amy, this is brand new to Amy. She's never had to do this before. So I can understand her confusion because she's trying to find things from old records that, and she has no idea where it's coming from or where it's going. But I'm so happy to see all of you. I see we have Pat, and I think we're the only 3 board members, though. And it's good to see the rest of you. It really is. So let's, by the way, we have a new attorney. Remember before we had Charlotte? Well, now here we have a new gal. Here's Miss Bowen. And it's nice to have you aboard. You're really getting, this past couple of weeks, you're really getting caught up, aren't you, on what's going on? So we'll try and take it easy. And the gentleman on the bottom is also new. He's our new CEO of Finance. And so this is a nice time for you to meet Dave Rickert, too. So anyway, let's get going. And let's see, I do have an agenda here someplace. I'm lucky I got online. I have been having more problems with my computer, and I spent probably 2 hours this morning trying to get it straightened out, and it's still not right. But anyway, let's Pat, there's no public anyone here from the public, is there?
No public comment.
All right, so we can go on, and let's start the staff reports. Can we do that? Pat, you want to take over there, Pat McDermott? I'm telling you, people, this is getting more confusing every day.
Hey,
I don't know about you.
You gotta unmute your volume, your thing.
I'm sorry. Okay, so as far as COVID, our last resident positive was February 8th. Our last staff positive was February 9th. So as of March 9th, you have to go 2 full incubation periods. So after 28 days, we can start moving on to the phase 1 without tiered mitigation. The only difference that, and it's, yeah, that's what's going to happen. The biggest thing it'll mean to us at that point is we can at least have the residents in a room with 10 or under. So it gives us some, instead of having to have everybody eating in their rooms, all activities in rooms, we can't have eyes on people. It's really tough trying to do it this way. And if we'll maintain that hopefully for 14 days. And then we'll be able to move on to phase 2 with the health department's blessing and with an attestation that we have all our PPE available, we have enough staff, etc. We have had all 3 of our vaccine clinics. CVS came here and provided them for us. We had approximately 70% of our staff, including agency staff, that did take the vaccine, which, believe it or not, is quite high for long-term care. And we had 88% of our residents vaccinated. And with the county positivity rate, much lower than it was, we are working hard at trying to keep, testing all these staff twice a week. We do probably 350 tests a week in-house. So if we can keep them all negative until March 9th and then move on from there, we can start, gearing down a little bit as far as how tight we have to be locked up. So that's all a positive. We have had the state required that we get all of our staff, QSEP it was called, QSEP, COVID certified. We had basically 3 months to get it done, and we are at 100. I'm happy to say we're at 100%. Dan chased a lot of people down. That included not just our staff, our agency staff, our doctors, our hospice nurses, et cetera. And from here going forward, we have to have everybody done within 2 weeks. But we were able to report that we were at 100%. We're getting our Q-Sub training done. So that was a big hurdle for
Good
us.
job, Dan.
Yes, he was great. He really took care of that. We're doing better on staffing. We are almost up to 100% in dietary. We're almost up to 100% in activities. Nursing, with the increase in our rate, we're starting to see people dribble in. We've had some losses on the RN LPN side. We've lost some staff. So and we've made a few changes, with administrative nurses. So a lot of the administrative nurses have been working as floor nurses. But we are getting some interest there too. Problem with a lot of the CNAs, before we were just advertising on Indeed. Now we're advertising also on Facebook Marketplace. That has helped us, but probably every 5 people that apply, we'd be lucky if we get 1. But they are dribbling in. They're coming in. We probably got at least 3 new CNAs, which probably doesn't sound like a lot to people, but for us, it's a lot.
You know what, Pat? That's really great, because previously you would have maybe 40 of them apply for the job, and when it broke down to background checks and everything else, we ended up with maybe 2 or 3. So I think that's a real good percentage the way you're doing that now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's moving. We were at a standstill. The rate increase has helped. It's moving. Go ahead.
We also have some interest in activity staff and unit attendance for moving forward with the CNA program.
Really?
From a couple of the new hires, yes.
Great. Can we get any of those that have been there for a long time that are CNAs to go up into being LPNs? Next step.
Yeah, we have really tried to push this, and every time people said they were interested, then they would end up backing out. We think we have some true interest this time, which would be very helpful to us. If we could have some people, unit attendants going on to CNAs going on to LPNs going on to RNs.
We have 3 people with us, Pat, that don't know what you're talking about. Would you like to explain the program to them?
Sure. It's a grow your own program. And what that means is that anybody can apply for any position within the building. After their 90-day probationary period, we will pay for them to go to CNA school for their books, their equipment, their tuition. We will also pay them while they're at school. So if they can work here part-time, be at school part-time. And at the end of that, then we ask them to stay with us for a length of time. And we're hoping once people are here, they're going to like it and they're going to stay for, forever, for a long time. And then they can move on up from there. We've really tried to push this. We haven't had much interest. Again, COVID is, they haven't been able to do clinicals. They haven't been able to do classroom. Some of that's starting to open up now. And with some of the new blood we're getting in here, we do believe we have some people that may actually be interested in pursuing these programs. So we're happy about that.
Sorry to interrupt you, Pat, but they needed to know about that program. Not very many people are aware of it. And we have Candy sitting here who went through all the programs. And how long have you been with us now with River Bluff?
I started for River Bluff the first time in 1992. And then I've been back and forth. I've done a lot of the hospital, but this time it was 11 years back this time, so. And then
They might
Dan started as a CNA, Shelley started as a CNA, and Tammy, who's the new Dove manager, started as a CNA out here.
So there is promise to the program, and it's worth growing our own, and we need to do more of it wherever we can within our county anyway. It's a good program. Okay, sorry to interrupt you, Pat, but while we were on the subject, I wanted you to explain that to our new people. Thank you.
Okay, we're doing, we finally gotten, financially where we have paid back all our old bed taxes that hadn't been paid for years and years. We're up to date and getting our months closed. We were probably 6 months behind. Mark has done an amazing job with his staff of getting things caught up. Now we're to the point that Generations is going to be able to be jumping in a little bit more to help us tie things together and keep things current as far as our public aid applications, that type of thing. There's a lot of new changes in Medicare and public aid and replacement policies. It's getting more and more complicated, but we're finally getting to a point where we can start keeping up with it instead of trying to play catch up, get rid of, finally get some of the old debt written off that's never going to come in anyway, and get active in some of the collections. So we've been getting some pretty big checks in that had been sitting out there for a long time. So, kudos to him. He's done a really great job of getting that moving forward. Our census has been pretty tough. I think we're up to 138 today, 137.
140.
Pardon me?
140.
Well, with people coming in today, it'll be 140, yes. It's been a difficult time. I mean, I was hoping we could move more quickly. But what everybody that I've spoken to in the industry, you're in the same situation. You don't want to put mom into a nursing home where she has a chance of, number one, getting COVID, and where you don't know when you'll be able to see her again. You got a lot of people that are working from home, so they have the opportunity to perhaps keep their loved one at home. So that's been slow. It's been slow in a lot of buildings. I know there's at least one building that's closed down. I think there's going to be another one because they got themselves in quite a lot of trouble for not properly segregating, the 5 different levels of segregations you have to do, which we were lucky enough to have Blue Jay open up. So we were able to properly segregate people. So when it all shakes out, it's going to be a different world. I think people really, I don't know that it's ever going to come back to the same exact world that it was, because putting people in a position where they can't see their loved one for a year or can't be with them necessarily when they pass away or whatever has been rough on people. So we're starting to get some more interest coming back. The hospitals they were empty for quite some time. Their census is moving up again now. So I think, Laura can speak a little bit more to that. Hopefully that's going to keep moving ahead. It's not that we're not taking anybody in, but we're not taking enough people in. But again, at least we hit the 140 mark today. So Laura can maybe speak a little more to that. That's pretty much what we're doing. We've had 6 focus surveys, a minimal of 6 surveys just on infection control, and we've done well on all of them. We have had a fracture, which we're going to end up getting a violation on, so that's not such a good thing. It's very hard to keep an eye on everybody when you got everybody segregated in their rooms. This one happened to be a resident that had an alarm on, took her alarm off, admitted she took her alarm off, and did fall and did have a fracture, but we still got the tag for it because we should have hid the alarm from her somehow. So we're hoping we can IDR that one. I don't have the results of the survey yet. And informal dispute resolution. I think we have a good possibility of trying to at least lower the scope or severity of that one. Since, the resident very clearly made a choice to take this alarm off of themselves and admitted to it and documented it, and we documented it. So that's kind of our main areas. Lindsay's been doing a great job with activities. It's been rough. But she's been doing the best she possibly can at keeping the residents busy and happy. But once she's able to, again, get people out where they can socialize with each other again, it's going to make a big difference.
It all comes down to being able to socialize again.
It's
I
very, very vital.
I can come and go and do certain things, but I feel so isolated in my own home that sometimes I want to just go outside and start screaming, throw my arms up in the air and let it go. And I'm sure under the circumstances, many of you there feel the same way. You have to. You can't have that many restrictions and try and do your job the way you want to and not have the freedom to do it. Pat, do you have anything for the girls and boys?
Pat Thompson, I just wanted to ask if Dave or Molly had any follow-up questions on the financials or on the receivables. I didn't know if Mark was gonna give a more detailed update, Pat, but I just want to make sure that Dave and Molly have any questions answered that they might have from Mark.
There, Mark?
I have one quick question for Pat. I know the county has available this year applications for mental health grants. Is that something that River Bluff has considered maybe using some of those funds for programs at River Bluff?
Not for mental health.
Okay.
We're really not allowed to take people with severe mental illness. So that really wouldn't apply to us.
Well, I guess I was just thinking of the opportunity because I know due to the isolation with COVID, there might be some opportunity for funding for people to interact with the residents because I would look at that as a mental health, as a reimbursable expense, something we could offset costs at the nursing home.
I can look into it. My impression was that it didn't really apply to this type of facility, but I can look into it.
The applications were due last Wednesday.
Yeah, I was going to say the application process is over. I was just curious. And we'll talk more about the finances. We'll probably have some more detailed and technical questions that we could probably bring up.
Yeah, I know we have a meeting tomorrow to go more detail into the finances.
Dave, just in general, the federal COVID relief that Congress just passed, how do you see that potentially providing some funding for River Bluff?
We would have to sit down. It looks like it's fairly similar to the CARES grant in that there has to be COVID related expenses, additional expenses related to that. There could be revenue losses we could look at. And I think clearly that would apply to River Bluff with your census count being down. We should be able to tie a lost revenue stream to River Bluff and offset some of those expenses. So that's something that we can bring up tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about. We don't have a lot of information yet related to that grant. And like many of the programs related to COVID, those requirements by the federal government are constantly changing. So it's something I want you, Pat, to pay attention to and look at opportunities to see if we can offset some of the costs related to River Bluff, because when we look at the finances, River Bluff is one area we want to pay special attention to, not only because we want to make sure we serve the residents, but because of the larger financial picture for the county.
Thanks, Dave.
Dave, are we closing that gap at all out at River Bluff, the financial gap?
I'd probably let Mark comment a little bit on that. It's still an area of concern. It's something that we're paying attention to. And we're gonna spend a little bit more time tomorrow going over some of our concerns with that.
Okay. Any of you have any questions? You're all so quiet. Shelley, you usually have something to say.
I have
No,
another-
I don't have anything today, Angie.
I have another question, Angie. Where, I guess it's for Pat or the team, where are we at with the branding, marketing, renaming, et cetera, of the facility?
I think we have the basics moving along. With the, I think you've been on the emails with the, KMK
Right,
or MKM, I never can remember which one it is. Part of my hesitation with that is we've got to have some kind of a kickoff. And until we move a little bit further out of this COVID thing, it's almost impossible to do. You
Right.
know, you don't wanna put the effort and the money and everything else into it, and then, we can't have our grand opening, we can't have our, different things really out there. Laura is out there pushing it, and, as she gets her supplies and stuff that she needs, which, is happening. She's meeting with new people, not new people to her, but, some other connections out there in the community. It's not something that it's been real easy during this time period,
Yeah.
because we can't even take people on a tour of the building.
right,
There's, unfortunately, everything you do in long-term care during COVID, during a pandemic, you kind of hit a wall. So our job is to get past that wall so that we can look at doing some of these nice, wonderful new things that we need
Yeah.
to be done. It's just pretty impossible right now.
yeah. But some good work is being done behind the scenes.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
That way, when everything breaks, we could come running out of the gates and going forward.
Right, right. And that's what we're doing. We're getting ready for that. Unfortunately, we just can't put things into place until we at least get to the point that we can have people in the building.
Right.
And right now, we can't even have a family member, 6 feet away in the building, let alone starting to, show social workers, et cetera, what we have and, what we can present. We can't show families the building. We can't do anything. We're
Hey,
stuck.
Pat,
Yeah,
Pat, maybe you should mention our star rating going up.
yes, or why don't you tell them, Dan?
Yeah, we are now a 3-star facility. Our star rating went up just recently. So I think that's going to help boost the reputation of River Bluff. It shows all the hard work that we've been putting in, despite all the barriers and all the struggles that we've been through. So the staff here is very proud of our extra star that we have now.
You have no idea how proud we are of all of you either. We made sure that board knew that thanks to their coming forward and coming alive and helping us, that even just giving people a raise, what the difference is in their attitudes and how we can improve River Bluff. We thank all of you for all the work you have done, and you pass that on to your staff, because we are all very, very proud of you. You did it. You guys have done it. Now we just have to maintain it. Yes, clap for yourselves.
We made
There's
it,
an
going from
there's
1
a-
star to 3-star is amazing. Now we just have to keep on the rise, but,
There's an old thing you do. You put your arm straight up in the air, bend it, and pat yourselves on the back, because we can't do it for you. So you guys all pat yourselves on the back for a good job done. I'm glad things have leveled off for staff, and you're being able to cooperate more with each other and getting the job done. Thank you, thank you.
no, thank you. Thank you for your support. It's been a rough year. It's been a hell of a year.
You got that right. And I'm at home and I don't like it. So we are suffering one way or another. But anything else, Patrick, that you'd like to talk about?
No, thank you, Angie.
Susan looks like she's not suffering too much.
Yeah, you know her background. She's just making us jealous, thinking she's skipped the city and she's down south someplace.
No, I'm doing the Zoom fatigue thing, and it's like the
Really?
only way I can tolerate another one of these is to pretend I'm laying on a beach someplace.
I thought you were.
No, I'm sitting in my office on North Main Street.
Yeah, well, I need one of those.
Yeah, so some people are real clever in how they can do that. You think they're in Rome or they're someplace else. You don't know where they're at. But that's technology for us. How is your technology doing there, by the way? Are you able to, have you finally got updated enough that
No.
everyone has, no?
No,
Where are we at?
we're still stuck. We're still stuck as far as both our financial and our nursing being partial electronic records. It's something we really need to get pushing again. I mean, we could do so much more with both the financial aspects and the nursing aspects if we still weren't doing so much by hand. I mean, it's,
Maybe that's something we can talk about again tomorrow too, Pat.
okay. Yeah, I know Gus had been like re-looking into it. But it's getting really vital. It's getting really, the more times you have to document the same thing, for us doing an admission is a rough job. It shouldn't be that rough. A day like today where we have 3 people coming in, I don't know, Candy, how many hours of paperwork do you think we're going to be doing on that? I can't even
No.
imagine.
Yeah, probably 6 to 8 hours easy on the admission stuff.
And it shouldn't
not
have to be that hard.
Not only that, when you have to respond to the state for your funds, you're not getting the funds you need because of the fact that we're not doing the electronic. And so that really we're losing money because we aren't doing it. I know sometimes you got to spend money to make money, and that's the position that we're in right now.
Yeah.
And we would get a lot more.
And we're very far behind the times. Most buildings were electronic, 10 years ago. Even the hospitals don't like to play with you so much because, you can't totally look into each other's records. I mean, even public health comes here. They come here, they look into what we do have electronically, and then we spend the next how many hours pulling things out of paper charts and scanning it to them. Instead of them just being able to, a lot of times these days they like to come, they like to do their observations, and then they like to get out the door and you grant them access to the records for a day, whatever. So that we're always happy when they're out the door and they're kind of happy when they're out the door. But the way we do it now is they come over, they do their observations, we give them access to what we do have electronic, and then we have people scanning them stuff the rest of the day. Instead of just being able to go on the record and take a look at things. I mean, that's how it should be in this day and age. And you miss things because you're doing it by hand. You're counting up, Dan's done, and he's done a great job at reducing our, psychoactive medications and stuff, but everything we do, we have to do by hand. We can't just press a button on everything and say, okay, show us where we are. Show us who we need to look at. We've got to ruffle through papers after papers after papers to try to figure it out.
That truly is.
I'll invite Gus to our meeting tomorrow, Pat.
Okay, that'd
Yeah.
be great.
Sue, do you do a lot of electronic work at Stepping Stones?
Yes, our health record is completely electronic.
Are you completely electronic?
We are. All of our payroll is electronic. All of our billing is electronic.
For you who don't know that, Sue is with Stepping Stones. They have a place on our campus, and then they have one downtown. You also have scattered housing, don't you?
Correct. We've got 19 different facilities. We have everything from 24-hour supervised group homes up through people living independently in the community. We work with people who have serious mental illness.
And so she's very familiar. We're very fortunate to have her on our board because she's very familiar with not only what we go through with the nursing home, but with mental health, illness and what has to be done with that. So I kind of figured you do a lot of electronic work. So that you get your money faster too, don't you? Reimbursements?
I think that it does, and it certainly helps in audits. I mean, to have things automated and be able to, you know, we have an auditor profile in our EHR. So when an auditor comes in, then they only have access to the things that we want them to see. They don't have access to everything. And so, yeah, it just, the ease of documentation for our staff who do the work is very, very quick, very easy. You know, we essentially created it as a CEO and one who's interested in finances. I know every day how many services we provided, how much money we should be expecting to come in, how many days behind our finances are. I have all of that information right at my fingertips.
And that would really help us.
In so many ways, even billing. You know, just being able to use point click care and send our bills out at the beginning of the month instead of having to go from point click care to Sage to, I mean, from you know, go to 3 different programs to be able to do it, make sure everything matches, you know.
Dave, we were so far behind in collections that many of those collections would never, ever have been collected to begin with. The people are gone, and yet we still have them all on our books. And my big thing was I've never seen a mail truck go through the cemeteries dropping off bills from people that aren't ever going to pay them. And I had asked a long time ago that we start purging some of those old bills and get them off because they make us look worse than what we are. And perhaps if you come across that, or maybe we've improved it, I don't know. But those old bills need to be purged because they make us look really bad on the, I'm not good at accounting, so it's really bad on our accounts payable. It
I think
looks like
accounts receivable is what you're looking for.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you.
I think that's part of what we're hoping to talk about tomorrow.
I
to
hope you
get some clear guidelines of at what point are we sending things to collections, at what point are we writing things off, and clean a lot of this old mess up. You know, we're working backwards. You know, we got things current and then we're working backwards. We are collecting a lot of old money, but at some point you're not going to get it, you know, especially from governmental agencies. It's not going to come. If it's from 4 or 5 years ago, it's not going to come.
No.
So to expect it to show up at the door someday, you know, isn't going to happen.
Do we have anything else that we need to talk about today?
I just wanted to, I just had a comment and then a question from on the phase 2, Pat, when you're talking about that opening up. So phase 3 beyond, before volunteers can get in and start behind the scenes, you know, working on clothing, getting that up to speed to be able to offer. We can't fit 10 people in the gift shop and clothing anyways, but
yeah, it's,
you know, some preparation, because I suspect it could be probably 100, 150 hours of doing.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. You know, it doesn't clearly address that type of a volunteer yet. Part of the problem is I think they're looking at what are going to be the result. How long is the people that have been positive, how long is positivity lasting? Is this going to be a yearly thing we're going to go through? Is it not?
Okay.
With the vaccines, you know, so everything that you know, we've not been able to get a hairdresser in here in over a year. You know, so it's not even saying at what point, we were all just, Candy and Dan and I were looking at the regulations before we got on the phone. It doesn't even address at this point volunteers. It doesn't even address being able to get like our pastor in here. One of the residents miss the pastor.
Sure.
You know, he's willing to come in, he's willing to test with us, et cetera, et cetera. But it's silent. The regulation is silent at this point as far as volunteers, unless it's, you know, again, it's a family member and it's a compassionate visit and
Sure.
you're the only one that can make a meet and, you know, that kind of a thing. It's pretty silent on that as of right now, but I think that's because they just don't know enough yet,
Okay.
you know.
The
Even
auxiliary was wondering, you know, we're anticipating, it's like, okay, proof of vaccination, you know, the card and, you know, the other 8 questions there are.
right, right.
If that would be satisfactory, but working down in that basement and away from the general
Yeah,
population of
around-
residents, it's like perhaps in a phase 2 or 3 that would give you some latitude to let us come in the basement and the back door. And
As soon
get
as
some
we are
work
able
done.
to, I will, as soon as we are able to, because believe we miss it too. You know, we have residents here that need clothing, that need just, right now, the residents can't even come off their unit, so they couldn't even come to the store. You know, they can't come out of their rooms, you know, but
Mhm.
as things move forward, we will absolutely keep that in mind. As of right now, public health does not consider the vaccine to mean anything. It means nothing. We can't, they're moving very slowly on looking at, okay, if I've been vaccinated and my mom's been vaccinated, my sister's been vaccinated, can, you know, possibly you visit 6 feet apart with mask. As of right now, they're not putting any weight on the vaccinations. So we were hoping last week that they would, because we have weekly webinars of public health, that they would give us some kind of indication of what kind of weight they're gonna put on this, and as of right now, they're saying counts for nothing. So, but we will keep, as soon as we can, we will keep you in mind, especially to get things ready in the basement.
Yeah,
Something to look
just
forward-
that behind the scenes prep
Right.
stuff. Not, I know is to be up face to face with the residents is, you know, many steps away, but the prep work
They have
and
time to
getting
get
it
the
all
prep,
ready
yeah.
for them.
Yeah, getting things ready, absolutely.
Yeah, to do that. The other one was wondered if the Grow Your Own is an excellent opportunity and initiatives that several industries are doing, and is one is can Workforce Connection help you? I've kind of followed and tapped in on some of the things they're doing. They've got some pretty good visibility and presentations and helping and hiring entities if perhaps you know, maybe it's a dead cost. I mean, maybe it's something you already did, but it's just my HR background, I tend to gravitate to that, so.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not even familiar with that. What is that exactly?
The Workforce Connection.
Mhm.
Ah. It's an entity, Pat, you or Dave should know about Workforce Connection. The city and the county are utilizing them to work. It used to be really connected with the unemployment office. There's a separate entity.
Okay,
And some of their events that they've been doing specific to an industry or company, you know, and they've got a platform set up so it presents pretty well on information, individuals, Zoom, so that you can ask questions, find out exactly what's the next step. You know, they're
Okay.
also helping in skill development as well. They're
okay.
pretty strong with that. But Jessica Story, the director over at Workforce Connection, might be somebody you might want to reach out to, just ask, hey, can you help us?
Okay, absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Carol's
And
off today. I mean, she may be familiar with it, you know, my HR
Probably is.
person.
Sure.
And we've talked about getting out to the unemployment offices and this and that, but again, everything's been closed.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know if they're reopened now, but I will talk to somebody from Workforce Connection.
They're right across the street from the Coronado.
Okay. Thank you for the suggestion.
And congratulations on your 3 stars, because that's an amazing accomplishment. So kudos.
Thank you so much. We were pretty happy.
I can imagine.
It,
bad
it
there-
was, it was our one big positive in a year of really negative. So
Pat, can you please explain for those that are not familiar with the rating system, what the stars mean, what you have to do to meet those stars, and what that scale is? Does that go like from 1 to 5 or?
it's a 1 to 5 rating. It's very, very, very complex. I have gone to seminars that have taken all day to try to explain it. It's what I can tell you, it's 1 to 5. It's based on, I don't know how many different quality measures within the building. You know, how many residents that come in and lose functionality in a period of time. How many residents are on, you know, psychoactive medications? How many residents are, you know, on and on and on and on. You know, it's everything we put into our MDS. It's that, it's your staffing, it's your public health rating. And they take it all, and long story short, you're going to have at least 20% of your buildings are going to be a 1-star, and 20% of your buildings, this is countrywide, is going to be 5-star. And then everybody else kind of fights for their position in the middle. 3-star is in the middle. You know, it's not high, but we were a 1-star, you know, but moving along over the past couple of years from a 1-star to a 3-star is a huge increase, because it's hard to go from that bottom line all the way up. And again, it's based on, I mean, calculations I couldn't even start to tell you. But a lot of insurance companies don't want to deal with you unless you're at least a 3-star. A lot of hospitals don't want to deal with you unless you're a 3-star. I mean, that's kind of the cutting line. Even families looking you up on the internet, whatever, you know, you see a 1-star, 1 out of 5. Now, this isn't the same one you'll see on Yelp or see on Google or see whatever. This is on nursinghomes.compare.com. So this is actually through CMS. So, you know, you see somebody's a 1-star, it doesn't necessarily reflect how good of a building you are. I will tell you that much. I've known great buildings that have been 1-star and not so great buildings that have been 5 stars. A lot of it depends on what kind of residents you take. If you take all short-term residents and get them out of there in 14 to 20 days because they had a knee replaced, you know, you're going to have a better chance of being a 5-star facility than if you take somebody that's on hospice and, you know, has to have certain medications to keep them comfortable. So it's a very convoluted system, but it's based on all, you know, all these different indicators that we self-report to the government. Getting to be a 3-star is getting to be, okay, we're out there with a lot of the rest of the boys in the, you know, in the, I don't know, I said boys, the boys playing the baseball game, you know, we're on the team now. You know, when you're 1-star, you're just not. 3 stars, and then, you know, from there we'll try to go up. You know, that's our always reaching for the next one. There's a building near here that had a bad issue with public health with COVID that has been a 5-star all along. They're down to 2-star now. I mean, it can happen that fast. They got a huge violation over how they were cohorting their people. It's a, you know, small building that just takes Medicare. They, you know, once they use their Medicare days, they're out the door. And we, you know, we used to get a lot of people from them, and we haven't been getting a lot of people from them. Well, I just heard the other day why, because they had, and I saw it on the on the website also that, they're down to 2 stars because they made a mistake with what they were doing with COVID. Not saying we couldn't have made the same mistake. We luckily didn't, but they made a mistake and they've gone from 5, cream of the crop, down to a 2. So it's
How much-
not a real fair system, but
How much does risk count in that?
how much is what?
Risk management count in that?
A lot, a lot.
We have had back in years, the past, I would say, 10 years that I've been on, doing the board, we were very high with lawsuits, which I think dragged us down also. And now we're seeing very few. We'll get them here and there, but it's not like it used to be. And that's one of the greatest things that they have out there. They have reduced risk management. And that's a big improvement. It's saved us money.
A lot of how it works is that, okay, I want to sue you because I don't agree with what you did, to my loved one. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. First thing they do is call public health. Because a lot of the lawyers will just tell them, get me a violation, and then we'll look at pursuing the lawsuit. Well, we haven't had a whole lot of violations as of recent. We're going to get one now, but as of recent times, we haven't had a lot. So it helps on the risk management side, but it also helps on your star rating side, because if you're not getting those tags, you're not getting those violations, they always look at 3 years worth of them, and the oldest ones drop off and the newest ones come on. So as that's looking better, then that star rating is going up. So it goes hand in hand with risk management.
Anything else, Dave, you need to know? I know you're new to this part.
I think for me, it's a learning experience. I appreciate having the opportunity to hear and dialogue, to learn a little bit more about the situation. Obviously, my focus is on the financial side, and we'll put a little bit more time and effort into that with Mark and Pat tomorrow, going over the numbers. I don't want to take up your meeting with a lot of that right now, but that's something we'll definitely look at to make sure we're doing everything we can to assist them to meeting our goals to make them viable. So that's what we're kind of focused on.
That's good, because our new attorney also needs to be updated. Since she's from the city, she has nothing to do with a nursing home. And this helps her get updated too, to what we do with the nursing home and what has to be done, what can't be done. And because we need her for our legal advice of what we can and can't do. So we're real pleased to have you here, Ms. Vaughn.
We'll be talking.
Go ahead, Pat, I'm sorry. Would
No,
you say, Pat?
I just said we'll be talking. I used to bug Charlotte a lot, so.
You get her educated, will you not? Because many of the things that we do out there, even advertising, we have to go through you, Ms. Vaughn, because, we want to make sure that we're not saying it wrong, doing it wrong, and keep us legal. We like people who keep us legal.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do. No. We need you to keep legal. Anything else from any of you that you would like to have input? No more questions? How would you all like to adjourn? My committee, would you?
I think your committee is pretty small today, Angie. I think it's you and me, isn't it?
Oh, we got Patty Bigger over here now. We now have a member of the auxiliary setting the residents on our committee.
So
There we go. So we need to add her name to the member list on our agenda, because it just has Barb, Shelley, David, and myself.
Yeah, exactly. That's my fault too, because like I say, Amy is not familiar with this. That was things I always took care of. And I'm not the one that informed Amy that we had a new member, because she had another member that I had suggested first. And then Barb said, no, I can't do that, Zoom and all this, let Patty do it. So we went from Barb, what's Barb's last name, Patty?
There's Barb Hodges is the name on this list.
Barb Hodges, and she turned it over to Patty to be the person who represented the auxiliary.
All
So
right.
is Shelley Harkness still a member?
I need to find out. I don't know if she's in Florida right now or she's in Rockford. But Shelley, I have to find out. And same thing, I've been trying to get a hold of Dave Fiducia all weekend because we still, even though he's no longer on our county board, we wanted him to be a representative from the community because he's been with River Bluff in all their aches and pains and their hallelujahs for quite a few years.
I
And
think,
so,
Angie, I think Chairman Shirelli wants to appoint another county board member.
that would be fine. We need 2 county board members.
Right. So I think a new county board member could replace Dave Fiducia, because I think he was on as a board member.
Yeah.
But if you want to keep him on as a citizen member.
Not going to, he didn't respond to our last Zoom meeting and he's not responding to this one, then I think we're going to have to ask him not to be there anymore and we get a new member. We have to have more people on, and I'll talk to Shelley and see where she's at too.
Okay, and then I think Chairman Shirelli will appoint a county board member. So if you want to talk to him about that, Angie, you can.
Fine.
All right. So all
I did
have
really
to-
quickly want to thank Patty to get the word out to the auxiliary, although we have spoken to them, but they really did help make Christmas as nice as we could make it for our residents this year. So we really want to.
They always have. They have always had the 4 seasons. They have always had a fundraiser. Plus, it was a fun day for not only the residents, but for their families. And I always loved coming out there when you had your Christmas, when you had your fall, your spring, your summer picnic, and then the fall. And they have always been very, very active with our members. And so it's time we got one of them on our board so we know what they have on their mind. It's been, I hope we can go, when all this is over with, I do hope we can go back to having those 4 seasons again. And that where the families, it's a fun day, I'll tell you, especially when the old cars are out there. It's amazing how many people love those old cars.
Yeah.
And then the hot dog wagons outside. It's a wonderful experience. And that one time they even had pets, farm animals out there, the petting zoo. They had the petting zoo out there. And I had a cousin that was at River Bluff, and his granddaughter, every time we turned around, she was out that front door over at that petting zoo. So it's for everyone to enjoy, and the auxiliary has done so much of getting the people also out of the building. I remember, seeing them at the county fair. They've taken people fishing. And there's so much things that they can do with our residents, not to have them just stay inside all the time. So it's good that that Patty's on this, and maybe that auxiliary can also help us get a new patio someplace when the time comes. Go out and knock on doors or fundraiser. You can do the fundraising, we can't. And get that patio taken care of that's so desperately needed. Anything else, people? Then we will adjourn. Now, we will do this in 2 months again. We'll do this at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right. You have
Okay.
a date?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys,
Thank
thank you.
you. Thank all of you. Have a good day. The rest.
Stay safe and healthy.
We will stay safe and healthy. Bye now.
Bye-bye.